Hello, everybody. Good evening. We're going to get started in a minute. Put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you. Got my friend Rick in the house. How's it going? I
Good.
haven't
How are
seen
you
you
doing?
in a long time.
Yeah, it has. Glad to hear from him. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So we're streaming on our social channels.
Okay.
Want to give people some another minute to come in. Hello, everybody in YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Please give us a thumbs up, like the video, share the stream, especially with people who are looking to transition careers or to get a bump in your salary. Best way to do that is by job hopping. And our guests this evening are going to talk about how you can do that, how that can be done. And both of them are super, super awesome. So we got Nashville in the house. Everybody, don't forget to put your city and state in the chat. I have a feeling some of you are probably at your current job listening in just in case they can hear something. So glad to have everybody here tonight. We're going to get started so we can respect your time. And we have Yolanda coming in as well. So she's probably just running a couple of minutes late. So we've got New York in the house. We've got California in the house. I'm in Maryland right now. Happy to have everybody here this evening. We have people watching in YouTube and Facebook. Again, don't forget to thumbs up the video, like, share. We got Florida here in YouTube saying hello to us. So hello, everybody. All righty then. Let's have a discussion with regards to leveling up your career transitions, things like that. So over the past few months, I've been featuring a lot of guests that have been talking about different careers you can take, whether it's in technology, whether it's appliance repair, electricians. We've done blue collar, we've done white collar. We talked about healthcare jobs you can get, things like that. But wanted to take all of this and kind of wrap it in a bow. We've got Atlanta in the house. We've got Detroit in the house. Hello, everybody. Okay, wanted to kind of take it and wrap it up in a bow and wanted to talk about actually transitioning from one career to another, one industry to another. Or if you're just like severely underpaid and you're like, look, I'm trying to like increase my income significantly, then both Rick and Yolanda actually have like real documented proof that they have helped people do that. So I thought it would be great to invite them here this evening to talk about this topic. So before we do that, Rick, everybody in the comments here and in the audience, do you all know how many open jobs there are or there were in August 2022? I think it was August that this thing said. It was either July or August. How many open jobs were there last month? Does anybody know? Nobody wants to guess? Oh, come on. Denise is saying, I have no idea in YouTube. 213,000. Ooh, you are very, very low, Opal. 100,000, Valdry is saying, 100,000, Jessica is saying, you all are very, very low. Rick, how many open jobs were there 300,000, 500,000. Y'all are still low. Rick, how many open jobs were there?
Let's see. I'm gonna take a
Oh, he's
wild.
Googling too. My goodness. Y'all are
Oh,
tripping.
315,000
No. Open jobs, unfilled jobs.
open. Oh,
Hmm.
ooh.
People are saying 1 million, 1.3 million in YouTube. Y'all are very, very low.
I'm gonna go ahead and just say 2.1. That's just a good no.
Nope. More,
5.4,
more,
7.8.
more.
Okay, 12.3.
Okay, now that's too much.
Okay.
According to according to the labor Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were 10.7 million unfilled jobs in the United States in August 2022. 10.7 million, and I think these numbers actually relate to July. So 10.7 million unfilled jobs in the United States. So, Rick, you are an expert at actually helping people like transition careers and find new opportunities, level up their income. Y'all, if you are not following Richard Drosin is his name on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, you all need to follow him. He has so many testimonials of people who are like, because of your services and your resume writing and things like that, I got, X amount of bump, and it's like 20, 30, $40,000 bumps he's getting people in their salaries. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into actually helping people level up their careers and their income and do career transitions?
Yeah, hi everybody. So I saw that someone put an question mark. It's Rick, Rich, whatever you can call me. But everybody on LinkedIn, it's Richard Drosin. So
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys that's real particular about nicknames, so it's okay. So let me introduce myself. If you haven't followed me on LinkedIn, I'm a resume writer, career coach. I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. I've worked in the public sector, private sector, federal, municipal government, you name it. I've pretty much worked everywhere you can think of. With that being said, what got me here to this point was actually a pretty much almost a story that most of you probably can relate. I lost my job, I got fired, and I had a skill set. That skill set that I had was actually helping people find jobs. So I decided to rebrand myself and what I had going on to really start honing in on my actual skills. So I took that component of what I had and started focusing on that. And I didn't listen to any naysayers. I didn't listen to anybody. I just followed my path. And since then, over the course of 4 years, I've grown exponentially and helped a lot of people achieve new positions and get hired. And it's been a blessing. It took an unfortunate situation to have me relook at what I can do and make sure that I could put food on the table, but more so use my passion. Because the difference between me and a lot of folks is I do this because I love it. I don't do it for money. A lot of people, as I charge, because you're paying for my expertise and time, but I do not do this for money. There are folks out there that love it because it's great money. I thrive, and one reason why I'm successful, even with my failures, is because I love what I do. When you love what you do, you're passionate about it. And I try to come off that way. Even when I don't hit 100%, I still remind myself why I do it every day.
Yeah, and nothing is ever 100%, but you have a darn good batting average there. So, I love your story because it's so true that things happen in life, whether you're
Mhm.
fired, whether you're laid off. There's a report that came out in 2019 that said 4.3 or 4.5 million Black people are set to lose their job due to automation. And they said that was going to be by 2030, and that was pre-COVID. So one of the things I've been pushing people to think about is how do you skill up? How do
Yeah.
you transition and move, not being scared of automation. We didn't even talk about robotics yet, things
Mm.
happening with the blockchain.
Yep.
There are going to be new jobs created old jobs are going to transition out. I'm doing a whole robot show, hopefully on Thursday, for the community. But, what are some of the things that you're seeing, first of all, now, and then like over the next 5 to 10 years that we as Black people really need to kind of like think about?
Okay, so one thing I know is frowned upon or maybe looked down,
Uh-huh.
but we need to also consider the trades, okay?
Hmm.
Because trades, when I talk about trades, I'm talking outside the HVAC, the CDL drivers is also a hot job right now for a lot of people. And people
Hmm.
don't understand the type of money you can make doing that outside. If you're not a techie, you're not someone that loves doing X, Y, Z, this is a perfect way for you to make some money as well. As far as trends goes, obviously I'm seeing a lot of change within this the work culture. People are doing hybrid, they're doing a lot more remote. And I'm seeing a lot of people are getting fired and are using automated systems to pretty much cut costs. I would simply say this is probably the time where not a lot of us are really focused on, don't have that technical acumen.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of training out there that is geared towards helping us understand blockchain, IT, other things. But I just don't want folks to forget that I know that everybody loves to want to work in an office setting. I want to be in a corporate. I want to be at home. But our big workforce does come from that the labor folks, the blue collar workers, the folks that are essentially, the mom and pops that we know are still making really good money. And while their jobs are going to get, unfortunately, some of the robotics is going to affect that as well. Because when we look at other areas in public works or landscaping or any other area, or dealing with warehouse, things are going to be changing in terms of automation. So again, it's going to require some sort of skill. So I'm seeing a lot of that. Personally, I think the jobs that still require people are going to be like HR, recruiting, that part of element. I mean, you can always screen people, but that face-to-face people communication is still going to be critical. You're still going to need salespeople, but it's also, you got to look at the direction of where it's going. In terms of, not brick and mortar, it's starting to go more technical and more technological. So their sales might be completely different. It might be a hybrid environment where now you're meeting clients all over the world and you're doing a lot of face-to-face and you're selling products specifically on technology. And that's kind of where we're going to be at least I see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, tech sales is a huge industry.
Oh,
We did a couple of weeks ago, we had a gentleman come on who trains people on how to do tech sales. And then he has a recruiting arm where he actually helps you get a position. So I'm working on putting together a resource list for everybody here,
nice.
and you all can just easily find those resources. Appliance repair, you all know I always tell you about Mike Sneed and appliance boot camp. I think that's appliance repair boot camp, something like that. It's in the Knowledge Center, everybody, if you are looking for that, or you can go to our YouTube channel. So, but yeah, with my Rick is talking about being anywhere in the world and having face-to-face meetings. The metaverse is about to change everything. So one of the things that I believe, and you can let me know, Rick, what you are finding and thinking about is that there was a time when our competition was just who was seated next to us in the classroom or who lived across town from us. Now it's going to be people in Kenya, people in Japan, people in South Korea, so we've got to prepare ourselves. Like, I think over the next 10 years, from all of the research I'm seeing, it's coming and it's going to come pretty quickly. And when it does, I just hate to see Black people, especially, not be prepared for that.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of international clients as well. And
Hmm.
of course, a lot of them say, I want to come to the States, and they're willing to take $20 less, $40 less, or whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
just to make sure. And folks want to, could be in Nigeria and they just want an American salary
Yeah.
just to make sure they're doing okay, which obviously depending on where you live, it'll suffice. Why pay
Yeah.
75K when I can get it for 45K and I can use that for something else, So I
Yeah.
mean, it's unfortunate. But I will say we have years before that happens. As long as
Hmm.
laws are put in place to continue to protect the American workers, we'll
Hmm.
be okay. Um, as
Yeah,
long
but
as
they're importing workers, so I don't know about that. I mean, they're importing workers, you know.
yeah, I'm on certain jobs I've been seeing that, and
Hmm.
then they're getting sponsorships a lot faster,
Hmm.
depending on obviously the type of
The
job,
talent, yeah.
the talent, the IT,
Hmm.
so I mean, there's a lot of that going on, and I
Yeah,
can I can tell you it's definitely going to present itself a challenge for us as well, and
yeah.
globally, absolutely, and this is where networking and unfortunately we don't network as well or are afraid
Hmm.
to network, and we always stop
Hmm.
ourselves from getting that next phase. I always say
Hmm.
if they say no, they say no. Just move on, go to
Hmm.
somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, what's for you is for you.
Yeah, that's true. Tammy is saying, yep, Europeans greatly represented in the sciences. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Asians, the Asians, the East Asians, the Indians are represented in math and sciences as well. But that doesn't mean we can't get in. That doesn't mean that we can't have a presence, etc. Everywhere I turn, I am seeing Black people who are in positions in various companies, and if you reach out to them, they're very open, and I find that they're like, look, let me know if you want, an opportunity to interview, things like that. So talk to us a little bit about the here and now. The inflation is crazy. People feel like no matter how much they're making, they're living paycheck to paycheck. People are trying to income stack 2 full-time jobs, working from home, things like that. What are some of the things you're finding with regards to the clients that are coming to you now and the areas of opportunity that you see for them?
Ooh, okay. I will say this. When it comes down to when they come to me, I mean, most of them already either are paid, underpaid, or they're not really satisfied with where they're at. And
Mm-hmm.
I work really hard to get them the salary that they deserve on paper. So I tend to focus a lot on their own personal growth. So what I end up doing is when people come to me, I look what I see what they look like on paper, and
Mm-hmm.
I decide, okay, this is what it should look like, what it should
Mm-hmm.
represent, and I put it together in what again, not anybody else, what I believe will work. And I
Mm-hmm.
use that as a method of trying to help them get to where they need to go, which actually ends up working. Um, now I can tell you a lot of them are companies are paying a lot more money. So
Mm-hmm.
I am seeing a high trend of as far as salary increases goes. And it's also you're gonna have to fight a little bit more. And I usually tell my clients, like, hey, you're gonna have to ask for a little bit more money. If you don't, find something else that might be more enticing for you. Or
Mm-hmm.
if it's leave, if it's something else. We always forget about the other factors on when negotiating. And those are things that we need to look at and consider,
Mm-hmm.
especially now. So I can tell you it's the trend is companies are paying and they're losing talent. So they're now
Mm-hmm.
realizing that, okay, we have to pay more because before another competitor gets X, Y, and Z. So now it's a domino effect. I lost so and so because that person just made 45,000. And here they are like, crap, I should have known I should have gave her 15,000 more and a $10,000 bonus while she was here. And maybe it would have worked out for an appreciation. I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also seeing where now workers are, job seekers are
Mm-hmm.
almost more in control of where they're at and where they're going, which is a blessing. And ultimately are challenging companies to relook at how they're doing their hiring practices and everything else. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
another trend that I'm seeing right now.
Now, are you seeing current employers like volunteering to give these raises, or are people actively having to go and negotiate for them? Or are you really seeing the bump ups when they go to another job and like negotiate fresh?
When they leave their job and go somewhere else. However,
Yeah,
I also
that's
I
what I was
also
hearing.
say leverage that.
Mm-hmm.
If you know you're on your way out, leverage that as a means to see if they want to give you more money. Of course, you might be kind of salty, like, oh, it took you this long to give me a $25,000 increase.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I love my job. Let me stay here, or let me go somewhere else where I'm appreciated. There are a lot of factors when it comes down to this, and to me, it just comes down to what you as a job seeker want.
Mhm.
Companies are trying to, good companies and good managers are realizing that this day and age, because we're going to get a lot, there's going to be a lot of the, I don't know how I can put this. The aging population of managers that are currently in management are going to
Mhm.
start um, leaving the workforce for the next 3 to 5 years. So there's a new breed of managers and leaders that think about remote work, that think about these other factors, the well-being of employees, the simple things because they know they need it. That's going to change the culture. And those things are going to be implemented for the next 3 to 5 years, especially as it comes to, human capital and things of that nature.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, so I went to a conference last week, again for women that are in tech sales, and one of the things that they said is they're finding when they monkey branch, when they go from one job to the next, they are getting a lot higher salaries because the budget for a new position is always higher than the budget for the current people that are there. Um, so let's say that somebody is thinking, okay, I hear you. Went to your LinkedIn page. I'm seeing these people that are making 25, 35, $40,000 increase, switching positions. Um, but I'm scared because I've been at this job for the past 20 years. And if I leave and go someplace else, I'll be the new person. And, it's like the instability. Talk to us a little bit about that. Do you have clients that have that concern, and how do you answer them?
I do, and I have a real life story. It's kind of
Okay.
crazy. I had one that probably was a administrative manager in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think, there for like 15 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to me and said, Rich, I gotta have more money. I can't do this no more.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting her, we found her a new job. I gave her a $30,000 jump. I think about 30,000. She got there, absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Culture sucked. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna say no names because it's a big hospital, but
Mm-hmm.
shame on them. Shame on them. Culture was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So she came to me and said, Rich, I need you to update my resume. Again, I said, done deal. I got you. Within 2 weeks, she got hired and got a $15,000 jump in pay. And she
Wow.
went, so sometimes you do need to take that leap forward, to
Mm-hmm.
take that, even that scared step. And
Mm-hmm.
then you might not find out what you like and then go back and find something else. And they ended up bringing it at a higher level somewhere else. So I say that to say it's okay to be scared. Um, it's not easy being somewhere for 20, 30 plus years. But
Mm-hmm.
this is why I always tell people, no matter what, always apply to jobs, even when you're comfortable, because you want to know where you stack when it comes to other companies. How do you answer certain questions? Are you on the right track? Those
Mm-hmm.
things matter. And if you're not able to properly answer those questions, you're not on the right track.
Yeah. So let's say, because I know you're an expert in helping people change industries as well. So let's say that someone today works in one industry, but they want to switch to another industry. Let's say they want to switch to tech, but they worked at, I think you told me this story that you had somebody who worked at Lowe's or Home Depot or
I
something
got
like
plenty
that.
of those. I can tell you, I got
Yes.
McDonald's from Starbucks to IT. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so walk us through like how somebody would even do that.
Okay. All right. So, number one, customer
Mhm.
service is essential in IT. That's usually called customer support. So
Mhm.
you have essentially almost the same thing that you can translate it to customer support. Technical support, right? You may not necessarily have the technical acumen, but if you were a lead or someone has trained others, you know troubleshooting. You know how
Mhm.
to handle certain requests. You know how to do password resets. You know how to do the basic IT principles. And it's writing it in such a way that makes sense to anybody come in and say, okay, well, damn, this person has help desk experience or desk side support experience. The rest we can train him. All it is going to take someone to come up here and train him. I ain't got to
Mhm.
pay him $28 an hour, but I can pay him 22 compared to the $16 an hour part time for him. So then
Mhm.
there's certain things that you can do, to help you. I'd say certificates really are the big thing. And if you're even showing that you are going to participate in getting that, then you'll be good to go.
So, in YouTube, we have Back Lady or Bach Lady saying, what advice do you have for potential clients focused more on an increased income and better total compensation versus a
Mm,
specific industry?
that works for me. I love people like that.
Mm-hmm,
When I tell folks I don't do specific industry despite my expertise in various. The
mm-hmm,
reason being is I like to focus on the person and the skill sets. The skill sets will get you the money. It'll always get you the money. When you focus on industry, you're gonna be like, oh man, I gotta be X, Y, and Z. So I usually tell people, please, when you come to me, keep an open mind
mm-hmm,
because what you did here is translatable to here. If just get out of your industry.
mm-hmm,
And then you'll realize, wait a minute, I've been a project coordinator at let's say I'm a government, right? And then you
mm-hmm,
go, but you're working in an office of like technology or something like that, right? And
mm-hmm.
you're making 78, decent money, right? And then you come to me and say, well, I want to go see if I can be a PM at Cisco or do non-technical roles. Come to find out you get paid $111,000. And you're like, oh my goodness. The difference is it's not government language. It's the same language written differently. And
Mm-hmm.
HR is going to look at it on a classification level to see if you qualify for the role. So my advice to you is always apply based upon a responsibility and skill set as opposed to industry. You will never fail.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, so there are like ways that you're able to take, like you were saying, the skills that you currently have and say, okay, these are the skills I currently have. I see that these are the jobs that I, want to do, and able to translate this, the talent you currently have over. I also think, and you can let me know what you think about this.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
reading a lot of like a lot of the companies these days want people who are good problem solvers. They want people who something happens and the first thing that the person doesn't think is, let me go talk to my manager and figure, have them help me. Like, can you Google, something? Can you figure something out on your own before you go and like run for help? What are some of the other soft skills? It probably is the best way for me to describe. What are
Mm,
some of the other soft skills that are really getting people through the door?
ooh, that's good. I like that because I preach soft skills on resumes. So you just hit
Mm-hmm,
a very, very good point because I always preach this. One is obviously like interpersonal skills.
mm-hmm,
Um, I say this because that is a lost art nowadays.
mm-hmm,
So you having the ability to connect with people will get you a long way. Dealing with stakeholders, dealing with clients, dealing with internal people. At the end of the day, you may not be a people person, but can you get things done by working with certain people to get things done? If you know
mm-hmm,
you're not the expert, can you go to the expert? Can you do X, Y, and Z? What it comes down to is utilizing your resources and utilizing your resources in such a way that is beneficial to you and everybody else. So personally, that's kind of where I'd say, definitely, I would definitely say that. Um, Honestly, that's probably going to be the one I'm going to focus on because essentially, when I even talk to a lot of clients, I have a lot of very smart people, technically sound, proficient, but can't talk about themselves or can't work with people a certain way. So then I
mm-hmm,
have to find a way to bridge that gap through coaching and interviewing and kind of say, hey, that doesn't sound right. You need to
mm-hmm,
work on this. And that's going to be the big trend. And I even had a company come out to me and say, hey, I want you to train our IT people because they're failing interviews. And I'm like,
mm,
ooh, I'd be happy to,
mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, I mean, the
I didn't get it
interpersonal
though.
skills. You didn't get what?
I didn't get it. I wish I did. I think I probably scared them off.
Oh, goodness. You'll get something else. So, yeah, I mean, the interpersonal skills is a huge thing that I'm
Mhm.
even reading about,
Yeah,
that, people just don't have the people skills. They don't have the communication skills. They
absolutely.
can't write in business English. They can't,
Yeah.
reading comprehension for some people is a big issue. Yeah. So,
So I want to ask something if you don't mind, because I
yeah,
actually had this
sure.
really interesting conversation. And we're talking about how remote work is also affecting, the younger population
Hmm.
and also, our workers in terms of having that connection, because there's a lot of folks that need that connection.
Yeah.
I myself work outside of what I do, and I go to work daily. I know for somebody like, oh my gosh, he goes to work in the office. I'm like, I love what I do. Matter of fact, I'm blessed that I have both what I do here and in my
Hmm.
personal job that I love going to every day. And that's something I can tell you that it's a blessing. I will say that that interaction is priceless. And this is
Hmm.
while this is great, we're losing that touch that, hey, I'm within arm's reach. I
Yeah.
can I can see you, I can talk to you, I can really gauge when something's wrong because after this phone call, I might not be able, we might have a thought together and then I can see you and be like, oh yeah, that's great. I get it. In
Hmm.
person, we can really understand without words what is it that you're thinking and say, yeah, we're on the same page. So that's
Yeah.
critical nowadays.
Yeah, it is critical. And there's a lot of statistics now that are saying that people who work in the office at least twice a week have a higher chance of getting promoted than people who don't, and that
Oh,
is because,
absolutely.
yeah, that is because people have, that camaraderie. Um, so talk to us a little bit more about getting through the applicant tracking system, ATS, and
Yes.
my co-founder is in HR, and specifically because some of us have ethnic names, and some of the AI that's kicking our resumes out because of it.
Um, this is kind of, such a touchy subject when it comes to names because it really is unfortunate, but
Mhm.
um, I'm not sure what your audience is. I know it's
It's
diverse, so
all
I'll.
Black. No,
Oh,
but yeah, we're,
okay.
we're Black.
All right. Put another name. Put a middle name. If your middle name is Melanie, you know,
Oh.
or but use your middle name on a resume, and then on a legally binding document that is the applicant tracking system. I mean, the system, you can put it on there. But on your
Mhm.
resume, you can put something else. So say, oh, it's gonna speak to Melanie. Yeah, my name is blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
There, I say that really to say that's one aspect of it, but
Mhm.
I'm a little bit different because outside of the names, which is a big thing, I'm also a big proponent of not trying to be pretty. And what I mean by that is a lot of people think the goal is to have these pleasant, aesthetically beautiful resumes that pop out with graphics and etc. And I tell them, you tell me when that works a lot, and I'll give you my numbers
Mhm.
because I'm putting numbers on it that no one can beat me. And
Mhm.
if they are, that's probably because they're a machine and they probably got multiple people, but they can't beat me. And the reason why I say this is because I see more of those resumes come to me than anything. So I'm
Mhm.
all about black and white. Everything is content driven. A recruiter might come to you and say, after looking at my stuff, might say, that's 10 much content. It might not be enough content. At the end of the day, what matters is black and white will never fail you. And sticking to what it is that you're trying to say and putting it all together will always get you through the door. When it's because at the end of the day, a name, yes, I got it. It'll be the
Mhm.
first discriminating factor. I got you. You know, but there are other factors as well that come in and might hurt you. So those are things that you want to look at. And that's kind of the biggest challenge that I have with a lot of clients is everybody thinks it needs to be a certain way. They want the Melissa Meyer, whatever format. I said, don't come to me for that. I don't do that.
I didn't know there was a Melissa
Yeah, I
Meyer
can't remember. I
format.
can't remember what it was. It was,
Oh,
and
okay.
and I have to find it. And I saw it, and I'm like, what
Last
is
I
that?
heard, she was fired from Yahoo,
Was it
so that
Melissa
didn't work
Meyer?
so
Let me
well.
see. Let me see. I
Yeah,
gotta see where that. Now I'm about
she
to
was
go
the
find it.
okay, yeah, she was the former CEO of Yahoo, but last I heard she was fired from that. I haven't heard
Mm.
from her since.
Oh what?
Sauda's saying, in a former life, I hired people
Uh
and
huh.
looked for those with ethnic names. I also promoted those same folk
Love it.
because they were both academically and skill set exceptional. They are now in place to do the same. We must get ourselves in position so we can put folk in place. Now, this is true.
Oh
This
my
is
goodness,
true.
yes.
HR, recruiters, hiring managers, we can put ourselves in place to be able to do that. Absolutely. I agree with that. But we have to be honest that, I had read certain things. Sawana talked about it as well. we do not create the AI. Unfortunately, we need to put ourselves in place so that we can create the AI for these things. But the AI right now is kicking people out with ethnic names. The East Asians, that is why you know that their name is not Mary, right? But they will put Mary, on their resumes and things like that. We have to be honest. And sometimes people will like our ethnic counterparts, they will see a foreign name, let's be real, and sometimes say, oh, that person's going to have better work ethic than, Shakina Johnson, because they have these preconceived notions and stereotypes. So we have to be honest about that as well and be able to have that resume shine through. And my next topic for you, Rick, is the LinkedIn shine through as well. So tell us what we need to be doing on the LinkedIn. I'm going to get off camera just for a second to get my light back on.
Absolutely. So I would say with LinkedIn, it's such a crazy algorithm now because even when I'm trying to figure it out sometimes. But I'm gonna say that the best thing that you can do for LinkedIn is make posts, make a daily post every day, like a few things, comment on some things. That's gonna attract certain crowds of people to come to you and reach out to you, especially recruiters and hiring managers. Join some groups, reach out to some people. These are things that people look at to say, okay, this person is obviously engaging. They're networking, but they're commenting. So if I was a recruiter and I see that you're commenting on General Dynamics posts, I'm like, oh, okay. How many times did you comment on this? I see that you wrote X, Y, and Z. Congrats. Okay, let me talk to you. Let me see what I can do to bring you on board with this company and go from there. So there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, so I, for a while, was seeing a lot of negative stuff on LinkedIn. I don't know if you had been as well, but I'm very cautious with regards to what I post on LinkedIn
Very,
because
very.
I was seeing Instagrammy things on LinkedIn and was totally shocked about 3 or 4 months ago, and it could have just been my feed. But also recognize that people can see what you like as well, like they can go to your profile and see what you've liked recently. I'll be honest with you, I do not like a lot of racial content saying this is
Yeah, I
white
don't.
supremacy, this is racist, things like that. Um, um, it has to be something pretty exceptional for me to do that on LinkedIn. Now,
Uh,
other platforms, yeah, but not, you know.
I think LinkedIn is starting to have people out themselves out as well,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And I just think
Yeah.
that we as Black folks need to be more cautious. Report whatever you want to report, send out whatever you want to send out, and then go that route. But the way I look at
Mhm.
it is, you don't necessarily want to share too much information, and like certain things that might be a trigger point. I'm sorry, hold on,
Yeah.
Duke, Duke. I'm sorry, that's my dog, y'all. Sorry, Duke,
Okay.
come here, Duke. So I say it simply, I agree with you. I think at the end of the
Mhm.
day, that's why I don't comment on a lot of stuff, because at the end of the day, for me, the people do see what you like. They
Mhm.
also use it against you. And for me, at the end of the day, I'm in the business of getting people hired, white, Black,
Mhm.
Asian, brown. Well, I don't care.
Mhm.
So I don't, and my thoughts and how I view things, I don't only certain people selectively know and understand, but I also have a different viewpoint because I have a world view and global view. So most people might not appreciate my viewpoint because I look at the total picture, and it might
Yeah.
be offensive to some, but I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
So it is what it is. So I tend to just focus on the congratulatory posts. I write, comments on,
Mhm.
on things that make sense in the workplace, those type of things
Mhm.
that speak to that, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah. He's trying to get Duke, everybody.
Yeah, hold on. Duke, Duke,
Okay.
hey, Duke.
We're going to mute him there for a second. Yeah. So, LinkedIn is one of your most powerful ways of people finding you. So, I've been talking to some people last week with regards to recruiting and things like that. And I was looking at all of their, we call it applications. everybody asks for the LinkedIn, your LinkedIn URL. And as I've noticed, again, certain things happening on LinkedIn, especially, I also can click on certain people's profiles or everybody's profile, and I started looking at the things that they were liking, and things they were posting, things they were liking, and things like that. And I'm like, oh, this could bite a person, badly if they if anybody who is looking at them, and sometimes recruiters are looking at your information without you applying, and they may want to reach out to you, but if you like a whole bunch of stuff and they think let's be honest, if they think you're going to be a problem, you're not going to get the call. So we have here Sylvia saying, yes, very true with LinkedIn. I'm very cautious with several of my business LinkedIn pages. Even your personal LinkedIn page, be careful with that as well. All right. So Rick, Sylvia is also asking if you assist with hiring in healthcare.
Yes, I've worked it. That's one of those industries I've done very well at, so I can definitely help with that.
Mhm.
Eventually, I'm gonna probably do my own staffing one day and get to that point. But right now, all I do is pretty much the resume writing and the career
Mhm.
coaching to help you land those jobs. So yes, I pretty much, you name it. I've worked with everybody you can think of: radiology tech, all the way to your CNO, to your CEO, or your medical director. I mean, everybody you could think of, I've helped. I mean, there's really not much of an area I've not touched.
Great. So let's talk about networking a little bit, because 40% of jobs, last I read, are never even promoted. So, somebody calls somebody that they know in order to fill those jobs. What are some of the things that you're finding with regards to networking and ways that we can network effectively for employment?
Hmm. I'll say this because I'm kind of like an oxymoron, because I usually tell people my LinkedIn service and my resume service, it pretty much gets people hired. And
Hmm.
I'll say 98% of my clients I've gotten hired off resumes, not networking. But
Okay.
but but I'm gonna say this, right?
Hmm.
We have to do more in order to get more, and we have to put ourselves more. And this is why that LinkedIn profile and those pages are attractive to people, because people are going to reach out to you and they're going to be interested and say, oh, I like this guy. Oh, I
Hmm.
like her. I like how she moved. I like what she's doing. I like X, Y, and Z. I
Hmm.
like the stuff that she posts. I get that. And I got clients that aren't clients. Like, people just love my posts, and I'm thankful and blessed to have them, because to me, that's important. Did I
Hmm.
reach somebody today? Did I talk to somebody today? What did I do to help improve something today? All these factors are important when talking to people.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess because I've been an entrepreneur so long, I haven't really been looking
Yeah, yeah,
for a long time. But I would have clients, for example, who are like, "Sheree, you're the only person I could think of. Do you want this position?" Right? As they're growing their companies and
yeah.
things like that. So I do think that people will reach out to people that they know, and they may put it out there as well, with regards to jobs postings and things like that, but they'll also think about people that they know, and depending on what industry you're in, that increases as well. If people are looking, like in the blockchain industry, for example, or some of these industries where it's a lot more tight knit, then networking is really the way to expand the number of opportunities. And what I personally think, and you can let me know what you think, Rick, what I personally think is I want as many options as possible. I want as many people coming to me as possible. I want the power to say no versus like, having to beg somebody to give me a chance. What are your thoughts with regards to that?
I agree with you. This is one of those things where, I when it comes to networking and also just putting yourself out there, this is why it's so important. And I
Mhm.
always tell folks, you got to do more than just applying, for certain people. Because
Mhm.
again, for certain folks, it's literally, oh, I know X, Y, and Z. I talked to somebody, X, Y, and Z. I reached out to them and it worked out. For my other folks, it's really all about applying. So you got to bridge that gap. It's
Yeah.
what it comes down to is what it comes down to is how you position yourself and how you present yourself, no matter what, is critical towards the end goal. And I think a lot of people forget that. They'll say, "Oh, I don't think I feel comfortable doing X, Y, and Z," but they need to. So stepping out of your comfort zone, it will get you more hits, but it'll also bring a lot more awareness into what you need to be doing as well.
Yeah. So we have here Sylvia was saying, I've gotten many offers based on my professional LinkedIn pages, which they stated they do check and research prior to interviews. They absolutely, everybody researches LinkedIn. Sylvia is also saying, yes, it's getting more intense and scrutinizing is fierce. So also in YouTube, Nishura is saying, if it's a social page, use discernment, period. I absolutely agree with that. All right. So let's talk then a little bit about why people hire you as a resume writer. Because it's really funny. I was updating my resume and my mom looked at me and said, "You can't update your own resume?" You know, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so so why would somebody hire somebody to help them with their resume and LinkedIn updating?
Time, awareness, market research, those type of things.
Mhm.
Those are things that I'll put it this way. When it comes down to it, they hire me because they know that they're saving time from doing it. They don't necessarily know the market. So I know the
Mhm.
market. I know what it is to present. I know how the ATS systems work. These
Mhm.
are all factors because the job evolution is changed and continues to change tremendously. So
Mhm.
those are things that people look at, and it's going to continue to change. If you're someone that doesn't have the confidence to really share your experience or talk about your background, you're going to struggle. If you're someone that even if you're good at talking about yourself, you're still going to struggle in finding a job. So there's a lot of different elements into hiring a resume writer that's essential and you getting hired. And that's kind of where we're
Mhm.
at now.
Yeah. And it's not just about getting hired, it's getting hired at top dollar. You want to be that person. They're like, "Oh, I've got to have you. I'm willing to put another $10,000 in the pot." So I know Rick's pricing, he can tell it if he wants to, but based on the results that I saw, I'm like, it's, anywhere from a 10x to a 40x return on his services. It's like, and that is just like 1 year. Then every year beyond that, you're actually able to make more and more money, which we talked yesterday about, being able to pay off debt early, or we've talked about buying businesses and buying other types of investments, things like that. For a lot of us, having that 25 to $40,000 bump can be the difference between us being able to um, make some of these investments versus not being able to. So we do have someone here, my raisins one, saying sometimes people hire because they see you went to a certain school or they worked at a job that they used to. You worked at a job that they used to. I've gotten jobs and realized later on that the hiring manager went to my school or worked at a previous job. What do you think about that?
I think that's a fair assessment. That happens more often than not,
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely something I'd say you can't necessarily avoid. People like people that are closely tied. They want something that, resonates with them. Or I see that you went to UM, I like that,
Mm-hmm.
so, and there's not too many of us here. And did you go to this program? Did you go X, Y, and Z? So, I mean, it makes sense. Those are factors that matter at the end of the day, even if it's not something you necessarily, it doesn't might not say make you feel happy about it, but it's something that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I've had people tell me like after we've started talking, like, "Oh, you went to the same school I did." So, yeah, definitely, I think that people are just looking for a way to connect with you in some sort of way, whether it's a school, whether it's church, whether it
Football
is,
team,
yeah,
whatever it is.
football
Yeah.
team that you like and they like, kids. yeah, PTA, et cetera. So talk to us a little bit about the process that you have for interviewing potential clients, onboarding them. Like, what's your system for actually helping people with your program?
So we'll have a conversation, kind of understand where it is that they're struggling or having issues, or what is the main problem. And then from there,
Mhm,
what I like to do is I like to take the resume, and then I like to see the type of positions that my clients are applying for, to kind of see where are they hitting a home run on the
mhm,
jobs they're applying for? Are they going about it the right way? Those are all factors that I look at. And a lot of times people don't know how to necessarily apply for jobs. And that is a major problem. And I
mhm,
look at it and I say, well, this doesn't make sense to what you're applying here. For example, like I'm getting a lot of agile scrum people come to me, and I look at the resumes, I'm like, okay, there are a lot of there are very basic things. Not no, well, it's not basic, but there are certain things language wise that I can literally pick up and be like, you don't have X, Y, and Z. No wonder why you're not getting a call, because you're not getting those simple things to help push you. And those are factors that I look at. So
mhm,
that's part of my onboarding. And then once I do that, I like to be silo. I like to work silo. I don't necessarily want to have too much communication, because I like to do everything on my own. And then at the back
mm,
end is when I do all my communication, because the point is, it's not to make you, it's not to make you came to me for a reason. So I try to not deviate from that. So I
mhm,
try to reinforce that, hey, stay away. I got you. I'll
mhm,
get back to you, and then we'll put it all together. And then
mhm.
from there, even if it's more questions at the back end, I'm okay with it. But it gives me an idea to be like, this is what I try to do to explain to you how this is going to move forward. And
Yeah.
then, because a lot of times people have their vision as to why they should have been hired. And then I don't want to be skewed on my own view of what that looks like on my trajectory for you. That's why
Mhm.
I'm here, to give you the hard no.
Okay. But we still are able to pick our own industries and jobs,
Oh,
right?
I don't care about that. That's the part yeah, you pick whatever you want. That has no issue with me. I want you to send me those jobs. I want you to send me all of them.
Uh-huh.
It's just my job is to make sure that when I write it, I'm writing in a way that will allow you
Airplane.
that that will allow you the opportunity to get hired in multiple industries and areas. So I usually say, don't send
Mhm,
me industry unless you're in an industry and you're telling me I want to stay here. Usually the
mhm,
case is, the variety so I can make it master, make it strong. And I am a man of my own technique. I'm stuck in my ways. I am what it is, but it works. It works. And I say that to say, you're gonna get someone that's gonna tell you, do not um write a resume for each single job. Oh no, they'll tell you do. I'm gonna tell you,
mhm,
do not. Because if you know what direction you're going and you know what type of jobs, there's certain components, certain things that you're gonna have on there that's gonna help.
mhm.
Yes, you might need to make additional edits, but that's fine. Redoing it completely for each one, absolutely not. And we spend so much
Right.
time
So
when you do
two
40.
times to me.
Exactly. You spend
Yeah.
45 minutes on a job, looking for a job. In 45 minutes, you could find 6 jobs if your resume was tailored properly. And out of that 6, you might get 1 or 2.
Mhm.
You can think about, it's honestly, it is a numbers game when it comes to applying to jobs. And it's not a good numbers. Your number's always going to be low.
That's interesting. Okay, so walk us through some of your numbers with regards to like how many applications people should think about putting in, and then what
Okay,
what
I
their
can give you
batting
that.
averages should be.
Oh man. Oof. Um,
Are we gonna
I'm
scare
a
people?
Yeah, no, I don't, because I mean, I'll tell you this: when you go on my
Mhm,
page has a lot of results, right? But if you look, it's usually results from 1 to 3 months before. If I'm responding fast to a client, you'll know, because I'm like, wow, that's fast. A month is fast to me. A
mhm,
month is fast. I don't care what nobody says. A month is fast.
mhm,
About 30 to 90 days usually takes about that time. So when you're so kick perfect point. We're heading into October, right?
mhm,
So you're October, you're applying for January. That's what you're doing. November, you're applying for January and February. December, you're applying for March, April.
Mhm.
So when you start your job search, you need to start thinking about that. If you're like, I want to start a job by the new year, this is the time to do it because you're about to lose about 2 months anyway. Recruiters are going to be
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, I'm going to pick you back up. I'm going to schedule on the calendar for January 16th, and then we'll have the interview then for this role. Yeah, they're going to do that because everybody's going to be out the office.
Mhm.
But that's kind of where we're at. I'll say a good number to apply for jobs is, I mean, I won't say, I'd say at least 5 to 10 a week. I mean, but you're talking to someone aggressive. When I didn't have a job, I didn't sit on my I sat on my behind. I stayed home and worked and applied to jobs, made my jobs application process, my network as my baby. So
Right.
I know I applied to maybe 10, 30 jobs a day when I did it.
Wow.
And I would get calls and I'd have 2 weeks of nothing. And then 1 week I'd have 15 interviews. So it's one of those things that's going, for some, it happens sooner. For others,
Mhm.
it takes a while. And it's one of those things I tell people, look, don't measure anybody else's success as a means for you to get hired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you
Thank you.
are telling
Agreed.
people realistically, yeah, looking for a job is a job. That's
Yes, it
absolutely
is.
correct. The
And
fact that you're like really telling people, because I always like to know the truth as well. Like, look, your job is every day 5 to 10, Monday through Friday. You got to put them in and but you don't have to spend 45 minutes on each job. A lot of people think that, oh, every job I have to perfectly tailor the resume, and the truth is that what Rick is telling you is that's not the case. You'll be targeted enough in what he's producing. I also like the fact that you can kind of get a feel for the person, then go off, do your thing, and then come back and then say, okay, this is what you're submitting, this is how you're going to do the interview, things like that, because people are I'm a writer as well. So a lot of people feel like they don't have the skill of writing, or they can't think of everything, or things like that. So yeah, I think that this is great. Look, uh, I don't know if you want to again tell your fees or not, if you want to talk to people, but I will say, because I know Rick's fees, he and I talked about it earlier. Um, Based on his testimonials, I'm seeing people that are getting anywhere from 15 to 40,000. I saw one guy like doubled his income from like 70 to 140. I'm not saying
yep.
everybody can do that, but when you start looking at return on investment, I do think that I wanted to bring Rick on because when you're starting to talk about level up your career, you got to invest in these things,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that if you're going to spend your money anywhere on an investment, sometimes investing in someone like Rick is the best thing that you can do. If you get a $30,000 bump every year, hereafter, because you spent, less than $1,000 is what he cost,
Yeah.
to do that, then that is a great return on investment that's going to pay dividends for your family. So, um, we only have 3 minutes left, so I'm going to give you the last word. Make sure that everybody knows how to find you. Everybody, I
Sure.
put Rick's LinkedIn into the chats here, so you should be able to see
Uh,
it.
Absolutely. I want to first say thank you for having me. I think this was
Mhm.
great. You asked really great questions, which makes me very happy. So I love the back and forth. So I want
Uh-huh.
to say kudos to you for the engaging conversation. Seriously, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Um, Now, if anybody's looking for me, you can find me on RDRO resumes, which is rdroresumes.com, or Richard Drosin. Unfortunately, I have maxed out my LinkedIn connection, so please follow me. I swear I'll respond back to you. You send me an email, I'll respond, so you get that email back. That way you didn't waste your email, because I know that's important. Trust me, I job seeker, I know. So,
Mhm.
I will say that you can find me on Facebook if you RD resume and career coaching as well. I'm accessible. I'll be as responsive as can be. I work by myself and I work hard. So I'm
Mhm.
very, I'm not automated. So, I, this is part of the human element for me until I
Yeah.
start doing the systems thing, which will be soon. But needless to say, I appreciate it. And anybody needs me, please feel free to reach out. And I always say, my last thing is I always say, even though you're investing in my service, you're investing in you. Your biggest ROI is always going to be you, no matter what. 500 to 5,000, you already got an increase. Who's not to say a year later is going to be 15? So you got to think about gradual steps to get there. And at the end of the day, all I care about is seeing people grow. And that's where it comes down to. Money's great, but I love people and I want to see people win.
Right. So anybody who has a child or grandchild graduating from college and need their first job, consider this a graduation gift. If you are looking to change careers, definitely talk to Rick, see what he's able to do for you. Could be a great Christmas gift for people as well. Like, hey, let's give you the level up for Christmas. So with that, everybody, we hope to see you at 8 o'clock for the Bet on Black pitch. And other than that, have a great evening. This will be on YouTube if you need to watch the replay of what Rick has said tonight. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Rick. Bye-bye.
Thank you.